Mr. Sean Cunningham in the house. Good to see you, my man.
What's up, Gary? How are you?
Oh, let me adjust my chair. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, I got to get a little bit higher here as I relax. So I am relaxed, okay, because normally I'm watching a Kings game. And like you say, it's a roller coaster of emotions with this team.
Cardiac Kings.
Cardiac Kings. But, last night started out a little weird, but I go, no. And before it started, I said, all right, this is a team they have to beat by at least 20 if they really want to prove that they're a good team. They doubled it, man. 42 points they beat these guys by, and the Hornets.
And it was a bounce back, but you know what we're not doing yet? We have to light the beam, my guy. They just won. We have to get this thing
Well, all right.
And I think you should do the honors.
Okay, so, all right, I didn't do it last time.
No.
But they did have a couple bad losses.
Yeah, there's been some we'll get into it.
Okay.
Jankiness.
All right, let's light it purple. Are you ready? All right, here we go. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, there we go. Now we can relax and set the scene.
Yeah, I mean, look, they lose to the Warriors on Friday, and there's some tough conversations. I mean, you've been in a lot of locker rooms.
Yes.
This one was the first time this season that felt as heavy as it did.
Really?
And I think it's because, look, you've had a lot of change. You've got all these new players. They're still trying to figure things out themselves and kind of get to know one another and find some chemistry.
Yeah.
And Doug Christie kind of lit into them. And there was some really tough words that were said. So then they get 2 days of practice, which is something that they just have not had. Mm-hmm. Even with the All-Star break, people don't get it. It's like you can't practice during that time. You have to go away, be away from the facility, come back, and look, practice made perfect for this team. It was a slump buster for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the right recipe when you get one of the league's worst teams. Mm-hmm. But they went out and took care of business to the tune of 42 points.
Yeah, and they had to. And it's one of those games where, you don't want to take them lightly because they only have 14 wins or something like that, because any of those teams can light up. I mean, every team in the NBA is good. You got to be prepared every night. But that was one they really had to, and I was so glad to see that after that horrible loss, against the Warriors. All right, let's get into Zach. Finally, we've been waiting for this for a long time. I have, I'm from Chicago. I know he's a great player. We all knew he was a great player. That's why the Kings got him. And then he lit it up finally. 8 threes, 42 points.
Absolutely, and it's funny because we were talking to Malik Monk just a few days ago before the break, and he says, yeah, I'm learning that Zach LaVine comes to Sacramento, and he's not the Zach LaVine we know in Chicago and be this microwave, this guy who just gets hot and hits shots. And Zach heard that across the room. In fact, he just shared our clip on his social media a few moments ago, and he said, finally got you, Malik, because this is only the second time in a Kings uniform that he's gone over 30 points. And as luck would have it, there's Latu from Jesuit, who now plays with the Colts, by the way.
So yes.
Yeah, nice to have him back. But look, all eyes were on Zach LaVine because he got going, especially in that second half. He really fueled them a season high. I mean, Gary, he's having an incredible season. He just hasn't really been able to do it yet in Sacramento in the short sample size he's been here.
Yeah.
42 points, season high.
It's incredible. And I think, and most people watching right now will think, okay, he's a great player. He's just going to step in and go. I even kind of thought that, and I've been around the sports world for forever. Yeah. But it does take a little while. You do have new teammates. You have a new uniform on. You're in a new place. So maybe there's something off.
Absolutely. And look, it's trying to find that cohesiveness because it's not just a new coach that you're finally settling into, but now all these, it took a minute for the roster to settle into Doug Christie. Now you've got all these new players, Zach LaVine included, trying to learn, the ways of what they're supposed to do. You've seen it. In previous games, it's been frustrating to watch because the ball stagnates. Look at that. Nice two-man game. Domas, Malik. Mm-hmm. That's stuff that's been missing really over the past several games, and they've found ways to win. They're still keeping their head above water a little bit, but they've had moments where stuff like this. You're looking for guys, ball stagnates, it's not as crisp, not as fluid. Yeah. And Zach LaVine was a huge reason why things were starting to move a little bit last night. Yeah, that's why he's there. Take a little pressure off some of the other guys. I love Monk's shoes. Aren't they nice?
Come on with the yellow. What's going on with that?
His signature shoes. He's with not Puma. Is it Peak? I got to do better research. Yeah. You got me off guard. I can't remember which one it is, but it's brand new for him, and he
really
left Nike.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll look that one up too. Yeah, I want to know that for sure because I like those shoes. All right. The bench. I got to talk about the bench. How's my boy Valanciunas doing? Right.
He's enormous.
I love when he comes out there because I haven't even seen him yet. You have obviously. Yeah. Big guy. Seems like a really nice guy. On the court, he's really not a nice guy, which we tend to like. But I love him out there.
Just a huge physical presence. This guy really gets after it. You watch guys literally drive the lane. If they bump into him, they fly off of him. He's that much of a presence. Last night he was absolutely sensational. He was physical. You haven't seen that big lineup where he's on the floor at the same time as Domantas Sabonis, but his presence alone, we haven't seen many games, Gary, where Domantas Sabonis plays under 30 minutes a game because they rely on him so much. Valanciunas' presence right there in that paint was something to keep him off the floor a little bit, kind of keep the legs rested, and
he needs some of that.
I love watching him at shoot around the day before, right before the game last night. You've got Zach LaVine and Jonas Valanciunas, and they're kind of shadow boxing and playing, and LaVine thinks he can take him on. And
no.
If you've seen Street Fighter, Jonas Valanciunas looks like Zangief.
Yes.
That's exactly what he
Do
looks like.
not take on Valanciunas. Absolutely not. How about LaRavia, though? Still super.
Yes.
I love when he comes out there. He's given like 16 minutes last night.
He kind of locked down LaMelo Ball. I mean, he was absolutely the player of the game last night defensively. Got the crown after the game, and he's fitting in very nicely. It's fun to watch him almost look like a deer on skates a little bit. I know he's absolutely looking forward to playing Memphis. That's his former team. But yeah, he kind of comes in there and does all the little work, all the dirty work.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you remember Gerald Wallace. Everyone
Oh
called him
yeah,
Crash.
Gerald Wallace.
LaRavia reminds
talks like this.
Yeah, not like LaRavia jumps out of the gym like Gerald Wallace did. But they're all over the place. They're diving all over the floor. It's a wonder this guy doesn't get hurt.
It's amazing. Well, he's super young, so he's fine. All right, up next now, we can't overlook this team. Another bad team, at least record-wise, but you're on their court, so they're going to play the Jazz coming up tomorrow night. The Jazz only have 14 wins. Again, don't overlook this one. You need every win at this point. I mean, you got 29 wins.
Right.
I'm thinking at least 41 or 2 are going to get you into the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's looking more like what it's going to be. I mean, especially for playoffs. Play-in tournament might be a little bit softer there, but they absolutely have to come out and take care of business against teams like this because they have the second hardest schedule the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Even though there's a good amount of home games, you're playing a lot of upper echelon teams. So Utah is a team that they absolutely have to take care of. It's a 4-game trip. It's funny, Gary, you're 2 games from 6 and you're 2 games from out of the playoffs at 11, out of the play-in tournament at 11. So
it's crazy.
Anything can happen. These games are so crucial, and people talk about playoff intensity. These are playoff intensity games the rest of the way.
Got to be. And I'm so glad that Levine finally, woke up and hopefully he kind of stays that way because their road is tough. I mean, Rockets, Mavs, and Nuggets after the Jazz all on the road.
And I think, a 2-2
That's crazy.
trip, a 2-2 trip should be the absolute goal. Anything outside of that, I think would be, icing on the cake, but you got to get at least 2 of these. You got to go 500 in the road, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, you have to. All right, let's throw up the standings real quick. Take a little look, just a quick look because they're there, barely. But they, like you were just mentioning, 29 points. I mean, if they are 29 wins, if they had 31, they'd be in the 6th place, possibly. Right? Only 2 losses in the loss column as well, too. So look how tight that is.
It is. They're all jumbled up there. And when the Kings lost to the Warriors on Friday night, Warriors were able to leapfrog them. So that's how tight all these things are. The Timberwolves didn't do the Kings any help last night because they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, the best team in the league. So, or second best team in the league. So, these games, man, every one of them they're going to make a difference down the stretch here, and it's going to be fun. Yeah,
everybody's stepping it up. A little playoff atmosphere. We're getting a chance to see De'Aaron Fox before we go, coming up in town on March 7th. That's going to be a wild one, right?
They showed a graphic in the arena last night. Yeah. Things are going well. Hey, the next game's coming up, and you've got De'Aaron Fox's picture and Zach LaVine's picture, and the arena booed him.
Really?
And they kind of got it off the screen really quickly. But yeah, there was a sizable chorus of boos. So that's going to be a spicy game.
It's going to be a spicy game for sure. All right, Sean, thanks so much for bringing the heat for us here on Beam Time. We love getting caught up on the Kings and seeing what's going on. There you go right there. It's going to be tomorrow at the Jazz, 6 p.m. That's our next game. And then then they're at the Rockets, and boy, it's going to be crazy then. So hopefully they're playing well. Kings.com and, of course, on Instagram as well, too.